everyone, this is Dr. Tina Mims, and for our assignment this week, I'm going to help walk you through everything that's expected of you to complete, okay? We're going to create a data set in SPSS, and then we're going to make sure when we create the data set that we have chosen the variable types and scales correctly. Remember, we had lessons on scales of measurement, nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. So we've got to make sure when we enter data in SPSS that we correctly scale the data that we have in there. Okay, so let's open up SPSS. You should simply just double click on SPSS to open, and you want to select new data set, new data, okay? If you are hooked into the UNT VMware, I'm not real good about how to use VMware, but the process once you get to IBM Statistics is pretty much the same. Hopefully most of you have downloaded a free version that lasts for 30 days from IBM itself. This is IBM SPSS Statistics. Any version will do. Okay, so we've created something called a new data set, and what we have here is a spreadsheet. Looks almost like Excel. So we're going to be very comfortable with this. So the very first thing we're going to do is I'm going to line up my screen here so that you can see how I'm going to type. Okay, so we've got some information. I'm going to start typing just like I would be in Excel. Looks like we have 15 of these, so okay. Now, notice it has a variable number that it gave. VAR 000 is 1. Well, we're in the Data tab view. We're in the Data tab view. If I go to the Variable view, I get to come over here and rename that, and that's what I want you to do. Let's put it respondent. Okay. Yes, it's numeric. Having 8 characters wide is fine, but we do not need decimal points. Now you're going to be graded on if you get rid of the decimal points. Okay, the value for the label here is actually called respondent ID. And for values, we really don't have none at this point. We have a none are missing. We're going to line all of this data onto the right, meaning just like it looks like on Excel. You see it's aligned here on the right. Okay, that's cool. Now come over here to measure. That's the scale that we're looking at. Okay, well, we can't really add, subtract, multiply, and divide, but we do know that the respondent numbers are issued in order. So we will at least indicate that it is an ordinal measure. Okay? So that will take care of entering the respondent ID information. Now notice that just like Excel, I can add different space by grabbing the column headers. This works a lot like Excel. You should get comfortable very quickly. Okay, so now the next column of data is how many years have you owned a car? Owned your car. So I'm going to just start adding in my data. I type pretty quick, so forgive me. Okay, so again, I'm going to go over here to the variable review, and we're going to make a real quick little sort of acronym, and we're going to say years owned. How's that? We do not need any decimals. We're going to be graded on that. Okay, now we're going to write the entire question here. Okay, the label is how many years have you owned your car? That is the actual label. Okay, nothing on values. We want to align it on the right, but here we know that someone could have a true zero. They may not actually have owned a car. So in our choices for SPSS, scale thinks it's looking at both interval and ratio data. Okay, so interval and ratio data, we're going to choose scale of measure in SPSS. Okay, now let's go back over and look at our data view again. We got rid of the decimals. Let's double check our work here to make sure we've got the right numbers in. 278, 451, 198, 564, and then 672. So it looks like I have accurately entered the data. All right. Okay, now the next thing is this. We need to create a code for our coding system for our names of the car dealerships that we were able to buy this at. So, okay, so what I did off screen very quickly is I created a coding scheme for me. You'll hear the term, it's written in the textbook. I believe we covered it in our class March 28th. Coding is a way to keep track of different values, especially when SPSS really can't read texts and add and subtract texts. So what we're going to do for our third column of data is we're going to use our code book, basically that I created here, a set of coding, where Sewell is 1, Huffines is 2, Sewell is 1, Park Place is 3, Huffines is 2, Park Place is 3, and we're going to just keep entering the data according to the codes we've assigned, okay? So let me see where I left off. 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, and I think we're at Sewell is at 1, 4, 4, 1. Okay, so let me just double check this very quickly. 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 4, 4, 1, 2, 4. So we got 1, 2, 4, and 2, 4, 3. Okay, very good. Now we're going to go over to the variable view, and this is where we can really make a difference in how SPSS reads the data, okay? So this is where purchased, where buy, no decimals. Get rid of the decimals. You're graded on if you're changing these very important characteristics here. Where did you buy your car? Okay. Now over here under measure, this is nominal, right? Why is it nominal data? Because it's just like a color. It's like a race. It's like a religion. It's just a category. It's the name of something. It's a label. So remember, that's nominal data. Okay, now here's the cool thing about SPSS. You see where this column says values? Okay, we're going to come over here and we're going to give values to those numbers. We're going to say, hey, 1 is equal to Sewell. And hit add. And then 2 is equal to Huffines. And then add. So what we're doing is we're explaining what the code means so that SPSS can read our information. I believe that, what was 3? Let me hit OK. Let me come down here. 3 and 4, so we can come back in here and I can add more values. 3 is equal to Park Place. Okay, and then finally, the value for 4 actually means Luke Riley Honda. Okay, Luke Riley. All right, and we hit OK. So SPSS now gives us the ability to read and use the numbers so that we can count the frequency of how often someone purchased at a different dealership. But when we get at the printout, we can actually see, oh, 1 meant Sewell or 3 meant Park Place. Okay, so that's what's really cool about SPSS, our ability to do things like that. So it can convert text to numbers. All right, now the very last thing that we need to add in to create this data set is how much did you pay for your car? So we've got some big numbers here. We're going to put in 20,000. I'm just simply typing in the numbers here. Whoops, looks like I didn't start this at the right point. Okay, so here's what we can do. We can highlight just like we do in Excel. I can do a cut. I can come up here and I can do a paste, but remember you've got to highlight the areas that you need to paste into. Paste. Okay, now I should be in the right level. Okay, so respondent ID is 1. How many cars did you own is 2. Sewell is 1, and it was $20,000 paid for the car. Now let me just double check. 20,000, 25, 32. So it looks like I've got 32, then 30,000, then 48. So 48, 28, 24, then 29, and then 31, and then 59. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the variable view again. Here we're going to say paid price. Okay, let's get rid of our decimals again. Let's give it an information on how much did you pay for your car. Okay, now you see here it says where it says numeric, right? We can actually drop this down and we can say it's a dollar value, okay? And we want dollars to show up like this, okay? Not with the cents, but just with thousands, okay? And no decimal places. So we're going to hit OK. And then finally, since we could have had a car give us a price for free, we need to make sure we pick scale as the level of measurement. So take a moment, pause the screen, make sure all of this information is correct, and then I'm going to show you how to answer the rest of our assignment. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the assignment again, and since I wrote the assignment, I know what it said. So task 1 we created a new data file. Task 2 was entering the data, which we did that, enter the data. I've got another video on this. change all string variables in your data to numeric values, okay? You see that right here, numeric values? This one I'd like to see made as a $, not just numeric, but $, okay? If you do numeric, I won't count off because that's what the instruction says. Then in the variable view, we also have to make sure we get rid of do not have decimal points. This means points lost, okay? Provide a name to each variable and a label. Name and a label. So we've done that. And change the value of the cars we purchased to a numeric value. And then make sure that we give that numeric value a variable name. So where did we buy the cars? They were given a numeric value. And then over here, we were able to identify the labels for each of those numeric values. Okay, so it looks like we're doing pretty good here. Now we want to make sure that all the correct measurement scales are there for each variable. So ordinal, respondents, years owned is ratio, so that's scale. Where we bought is nominal because it's just like the name of it's a label, it's the name of the business. And then the purchase price is also a scale. So we've done all of this correctly. What we do now is we need to save the file as car data because we're going to use this in another assignment. So you want to save it. I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call it car data. And I'm going to put it under my courses. You can put this on you wherever you want to save it, but I'm going to save it in our course. Put that in there under data. Okay, now let's see what the assignment wants for me to turn in. Provide a screenshot of your data view for grading here. Okay, this is the variable view I'm in. This is the data view. So I'm going to use my snipping tool, and I'm going to come up here and go snip, copy. I'm going to go over to my assignment. I'm going to hit paste, and I'm going to make sure this is nice and centered professionally on the page. Here's the data set. From the data view, I'm going to take and move this onto the next page. It says provide a screenshot of your variable view. Okay, we were in data view. I'm going to go to variable view. This is going to be a lot longer and wider. So new, come over here and do my snipping tool again. Come all the way over to the right. And if you don't have this column for measurement included, you'll get points lost. So edit, copy. And I'm going to come in here and hit paste. Now, make sure that's centered. That looks really good. And do not submit the SPS file. You'll get a 0. Let's avoid this. So now I'm going to save this as my lab assignment. File, save as. Going to come under spring, and I'm going to save it with my last name. I really like files with students' last names in it. And I'm going to go MIMS SPSS due April 10th. That's really always helpful when you put the due date in there too. Okay, so I've saved this, and this is what I will upload to Canvas to get 100 on my grade. I hope you find this helpful and watch it as many times as you need. Give me some feedback on if this helps you complete this assignment or not, okay? Piece of cake.